Hello. I'm just trying to pin, and then we're gonna start talking about social responsibility and stress. Okay, let me try to pin my post. اوكي كانت تزبط معي. لحظة في عنا شوي. Hi everyone, I'm trying to pin my post بس مش عم I'm pressing on it بس مش عم تزبط كل مرة هيك. Anyways, Hi everyone, مساء الخير لكل يلي عم بيشوفوني هلا على الانستغرام. حبيت اليوم اطلع especially that نحن بعدنا بكورنتين مزبوط منا ب 24 hour lockdown بس نحن ببارشل كورنتين فحسيت انه it would be nice to conduct some interviews with very interesting people فقلت ليش ما بعمل interviews with doctors فقررت اعملكم series of interviews. اليوم اول interview رح يكون لمدة نص ساعة 40 minutes with one of my favorite doctors and someone that I'm proud to call my friend. رح يكون في عنا interviews. صراحة الوقت بعد ما حددناه رح لكم قبل بنهار عن كل interview. رح يكون في عنا psychologist مثل اليوم دكتور جوليت. رح يكون في عنا pediatrician, dermatologist, nutritionist, health coach. ورح يكون في عنا parent consultancy و early childhood education وغيره يعني interesting stuff. منهم تاخدوا tips منهم بتشاركونا انتو شو عم بيصير معكم و if we can help in any other way. فاليوم رح يكون أول interview ومستضيفة clinical psychologist Dr. Juliet Dinkha. Dr. Juliet Dinkha is one of my dearest friends, number one. Number two, مين منا ما بيعرف Dr. Juliet وقتها كانت تطلع على البريكفاست شو بعدها بتطلع على البريكفاست شو through phone calls. واليوم رح نحكي عن موضوع كتير مهم وهو السوشيال ريسبونسبيلتي وموضوع كلنا بنعاني منه sometimes إراديا ولا إراديا يلي هو السترess. So Dr. Juliet, you are with us. Let me add you لأنه we have so many things to talk. امبارح نزلت بوست وفي كتير من العالم بعتوا لي أسئلتهم. We're gonna have a very interesting time talking and answering the questions. Hi, Dr. Juliet.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's great to have you. And I missed interviewing you. Remember, like the good old days?
Yes, that's true. I miss those days, actually.
You know, everything will be back and everything will be back better. إذا الله راد.
إن شاء الله.
هيك لازم نخلي كل ال high hopes عنا no matter what. صح؟
Very true, very true. إن شاء الله. We're praying for that, right?
Oh yes. Well, Dr. Juliet, خليني أقول لك أول ما نزلت البوست أنا and we're going to be talking about social responsibility. خاصة هلا إنه هي already social responsibility جدا مهمة من زمان بس هلا with this pandemic that's been going on عم بيصير في شوية لغط عند العالم ف everyone is interested in knowing about social responsibility. So فينا نبلش بالdefinition number one. ونمبر 2 that everyone can relate to is the stress. يعني بنضحك على الناس إذا بنقلنا لا نحن دايما زن وما عنا stress. Everyone is stressing وكل stress تفرق عن الثاني وطريقة فشة الخلق كمان تفرق على الثاني. So I do my talking and now it's all to you.
Well, thank you. I think this social responsibility is very important to talk about, especially within this pandemic and our responsibility as citizens and how we can, be responsible in order for us to follow rules. I mean, it always strikes me interesting. I'm always surprised at people, they know what their social, I mean, I don't really think that people don't know what their responsibility is as citizens. Sorry, I had a sneeze. I'm sorry.
Julie, bless you.
But
the good bless you, right?
good bless you. But I think a lot of times people, they know what they're supposed to do. We know that we have some responsibility for our community, because you see that like when the pandemic first started until now, like the healthcare providers have a responsibility to take care of us. There are the citizens who volunteered at the grocery stores, you volunteered to deliver food, people that have volunteered to deliver food, for the poor people, or even the ones that worked at the grocery store. So I think the idea is that people know that. But what always surprises me is that people really know is this contradiction that I know what my social responsibility is, not only because I need to volunteer and do things to help out the community within this pandemic. My biggest thing with social responsibility is that we know that we have, we've been told by the government that we stay home. We have been told by the government to wear gloves, to wear our masks, that not to have gatherings, to be able to, keep away from the elderly, for example, or people with really, very, very limited immune system or weak immune system. And you get these, or anyone sick, or even kids that have really, can get sick or whatever. So we all know about it, and I think we've heard enough about COVID-19. We know what it can cause and not cause, and despite the fact that this is probably going to be something that we have to be familiar with, just like the flu or the pneumonia, yes, despite the fact that we don't really have that many deaths, but we have a lot of cases that have been infected. And I think these cases partly has to do with that we're testing a lot more, but partly has to do with people not being socially responsible to be able to adhere to the laws that is required. Believe me, Tamara, I don't want to stay home. I don't want the kids to stay home. I would like to go out and mingle and socialize. I want to be able to do certain things, but also doing that, I'm putting myself at risk and other people at risk. What kills me is that when anxious is when people say, oh, I know the people I'm hanging out with. I know what happened. And so the idea is that when people say, well, I know that I'm going to these people also that haven't gone anywhere, okay? I know that it's not going to happen to me. This unrealistic optimism, we call it in social psychology, where we think it's not going to happen to us. So these people are always more optimistic in an unrealistic way. It's not going to happen to me, only happening to people who are certain age, certain mantaqa, certain nationality. As soon as you start identifying the nationality, then
بس مرة نعمل something live وما يصير في ضغط على. Okay, Dr. Juliet, you're back. You're back? Yes. I'm so sorry for that. Yeah. Okay. You're always here, yes. Connection, yes. Sorry.
You didn't hear me all of that?
I heard you all. I just stopped when you said about, visiting other people and knowing that they didn't see anyone and we didn't see anyone. That's when I lost you, but then I got you back again. We took to the connection. Yeah.
It's the idea of people that's having this, like I was saying, the unrealistic optimism, this sense of like I've taught my student that in social psychology is that, people, you see it in teenagers. No, it's not going to happen to me. This invincible kind of attitude. But even adults are having it now. Like, oh, no, it won't happen to me. I'm not from this nationality. I'm not living in this neighborhood. No. I'm only going to visit my family. Nobody stranger. And this is like not making us socially responsible. And it saddens me, to be honest.
Exactly. And also, the thing is that this virus is deceiving, if I may say, because of the symptoms are different. You have people that get really sick, يعني حرارة ووجع throat وهيك، وفي عندك ناس they have the COVID-19, they have this virus and they're perfectly fine, but they don't know that it's already in their system. This is the thing اللي كمان عم بيضيع العالم. Like, let me ask you, yesterday was the first day of the ending of the 24-hour lockdown.
Yeah,
صراحة
yeah.
yesterday بعده عم بيصل لي مسجز هلا، واكيد واصل لكل الكويت، يعني المسجز على العالم يلي راحت لتشتري كوفي او راحت لتشتري برجرز. طيب I like coffee, I like burgers, but why this much؟ يعني شفتي انت الزحمة وشفت العالم كيف واقفة. Is that good؟
Well, you know, I mean, what do you think? I mean, the idea is that if you coop people up for 2 weeks and they can't go anywhere, that's the first sign of freedom. What do we all do? We want to go out, and these people don't even mind sitting. Actually, it's probably the first time you'll see people standing in line and they're not upset because they could sit in
Exactly.
line for an hour. You know, why not sit in line? I'd rather be standing in line, or, you know, and the thing is that the good thing about it is drive through. So you're in your car. You don't really have to communicate with people. I would be more worried if people were standing in line without their cars, like if they're just standing and not
That would
drive
be
through. So if it's a drive through, but I mean, I wasn't surprised. You know, especially we're a collectivist society, we are used to being with other people. And when you tell people for the last two weeks that you can't really go anywhere, you have those 2 hours where you're walking, you're not even driving. I mean, just having that sensation of sitting in my car and just driving, you know, just exercise. I mean, I think some of us even forgot how to drive now because we haven't been driving our cars for such a long time. And so I think it's
exactly.
normal, you know,
But is it
it's normal.
necessary? Is it necessary? Someone's asking if
Yeah.
it's necessary.
It's not necessary. And if you could stay home, I mean, for me, I didn't even stand in line. I found out that there was big line. I saw these pictures and I just ordered online.
Oh, you
I,
went there.
I was like, you know, I was dying for a coffee. And I thought, well, this is like great for me to just like be able to get my coffee. I was like, wanted to feel like human again, right? But then when I heard that there were people, I mean, then I was thinking even areas that are far away, could they really have? But everywhere they were packed. So I just ordered. And actually, the order was probably faster than some of these people that stood in line.
Oh,
And
which
I
is
just
good.
wanted, and so I didn't want to, I mean, I was working anyways. And by the time I finish work, it will be curfew time anyways. But is it necessary? Not really. If you could do it in
يفشل
order.
خلق.
But
فشل
of
خلق.
course, هو بحس إنه it's a ventilation. It's the ability to sit in your car, the ability to listen to your music, the ability to be able to feel free, that there's nobody controlling your time. You don't have to
Sure.
be like showing the police officer your code because you have an appointment somewhere. I mean, I felt like it was good that people were exercising their freedom. Was it a jeopardy? I mean, in my mind, I didn't feel like it was too much jeopardy as long as you're staying in your car and
In the
as long as
car.
the
Social
person
distancing.
who's
Yeah.
serving me with gloves and a mask. You know, I felt like people. I knew that people were going to do that. I mean, this is what you do.
It
I,
was
I re-
expected.
Yes, it reminded me of the time where in prison, right? It does reminded me when I worked in prison. It was like, you know, the poor guys had 2 hours. They had to go, they had to exercise, do this. This is like their time, right? So you feel like whenever you give them probation, it's like, oh my God, I'm free, I'm seeing the daylight. And people miss that.
Yes, but also it's for their own safety. For their own
Yes.
safety. So, because like lots of frontliners and people are working really hard, so we
Mm.
can not have the increase in numbers of the COVID-19 cases.
Mm.
And then maybe, okay, some people are doing it right, بس عم تطلع بالعالم يلي عن جد ملتزمة، يلي عن جد
Mm.
صار لها أكثر مثلا من شهرين قاعدة بالبيت منا طالعة. They go
Mm.
out because of someone reckless يسيبون هيدا الفيروس. So it hurts, right?
Of course, and
Let's
I'm talking about
side.
people that are
Yeah.
exercising, you know, their social responsibility. So for me to go out and I'm standing in line, I'm in my own car, I'm not talking to anyone, I'm just going to get my Starbucks and come home or whatever coffee or my sandwich, and this is a right that the government has given me. So yes, but the other people that are utilizing this time where I'm going to go get my coffee and then I'm going to go visit my friend and then I'm going to go visit this family member. Now, those are not exercising social responsibility. But for people, it's not going to be harmful if people just sit in their car. There's nobody else in your car, just you or whoever the family member. You go, you pick up, you come back home. But you know that a lot of those people weren't doing that because they're trying to take advantage of an opportunity that I have these, like, 6 in the morning to 6. The idea is like I have these 12 hours. What can I do with them? How can I do it? What can I connive about it? And the idea is that, look, we cannot be policing people forever. We're not going to be able to police them.
100%.
Now,
This is
we're not going to be able to do that. What we need to do is to have people to be understanding that you are harming other people. I mean, when people say to me, but I'm not doing anything to anyone. It's my family member. It's me. ما لي علاقة في الناس. لا لا فيك علاقة في الناس. لأنه when you go and you're not using this time just to get a drive-through. You are visiting. You are having your own diwaniya. You're having gathering, which is more than, the government tells us no gathering, and there are going to be more than 10 people there. Then you are putting yourself at risk, which later on you might put me at risk if I come in contact. Yes.
We heard cases like this that happened innocently. أكيد, of course, we're not talking intentionally. This is the thing, and people should take this serious because social responsibility إذا واحد بده يهتم. I take it like أنت ببيتك بتدير الأشياء، مش أنت مديرة، بتدير الأشياء. You know what's right, what's wrong. Sometimes you make mistakes, sometimes you learn. But a mistake like this, first of all, you never know if you might have it. Second of all, if you have it, that's a huge problem. And then هونيك ببلش the feeling of guilt, and where this takes us.
Right, and I mean, we go back to this asymptomatic and symptomatic symptoms, right? So people can have it and not really be able. So this is the other lack of education, or the ignorance, as I say. It's like people saying, well, I don't have anything. I haven't shown any symptoms. Well, it doesn't matter that you show symptoms or not, because you could still be carrying the virus, right? True. And the idea is that, so I think at first people were like, well, I'm not going to, if someone is sick, I don't go visit them. Okay, well, you shouldn't be visiting anyone, because you don't know if you have it.
Exactly.
And I think people don't see, look, there are this, like I said, this unrealistic optimism where I feel that I'm young, I exercise, I don't mistreat my body, my immune system is great, nothing is going to happen to me. That is an unrealistic thinking. So when people take it very lax, like it's not going to happen to me, nothing's ever going to happen to me, you're putting yourself at risk. Again, the social responsibility comes when I am not only putting myself at risk, my responsibility is to make sure that people I care about, I'm not going to, contaminate them and keep them safe. And that's where the social responsibility is not just volunteering at a, grocery store.
مظبوط.
It's, we have a responsibility to be able to make sure that people that we care about, our friends, our family, our neighbors, they are in safe hand. That's another responsibility that people should be looking at it, not just, well, I volunteered, well, I gave food to the poor, عملت ما بعرف إيش. You could do all of that, but still be negligent in the most important way, which is visiting and socializing when you shouldn't be. And I know people mellow, الناس ملت, they're bored.
ما هي keeping you opened up for the other. هلا هي مزبوط، في ناس عم تعمل صح، في ناس عم تعمل غلط، بس كمان لأنه الشخص مش معود على هيك شيء. This is something completely new. This is something that they're learning from. But at the same time ما كمان مثل ما قلتي بنرجع لوضع الشخص المحبوس. إذا أنت كل يوم بتلبسي ثيابك بتروحي على شغلك، عندك روتين، فجأة all of a sudden تسكر كل شيء. ما عم بحكي عن الكوز. We know that it's a perfect cause. Of course, it's for our safety. But how stressful that is. I know you've done lots of lives and you do therapy online. So I'm not going to ask you about the cases and details, but tell us a little bit about the stress. كيف عم بيكون؟ لأنه كل شخص different. Sometimes people take it to the extremes, which is very harmful for them, especially the people يلي كانوا عم يتعالجوا عندهم any kind of problems. So tell us a little bit about this.
Well, most of I do teletherapy, which is something I really truly believe in. And I think in this era, most people are really, you know, at first people are leery and they're not sure, but now they're realizing this is their only venue to be able to express, because remember, you're living in a house where there are other people who are stressed also. So you feel guilty that you're going to talk about your anxiety and stress when everyone else is feeling the same way. And everyone's going to say to you, look, we're all in the same place, we're all stressed. So you feel minimized anyways. So I think this teletherapy has helped a lot of people to be able to reach out and to talk to a professional who's going to validate that stress is very normal at these times. And I think that, you know, stress it's a common thing, and there's nothing wrong with stress. But the only time stress becomes, you know, unproductive is it when it's stopping you from being able to pursue normal routines. Like if you're sleeping so much because you're scared, your future is unpredictable, you're unable to, you know, make any routines, then that means stress has, you know, become in the bad side, you know. So there's a good side and bad side. But if you're just stressed a little bit and worried about things like, you know, that, you know, what's going to happen to this, you know, globally, what's going to happen to the country. If you're just stressed because you're thinking, but you're not occupied with the idea, and you still can have routine, you still are, you know, creating things to do like cooking, getting into your hobby, working out, things like that. It's not bad. But of course, most of the cases, they're extremely stressed. They're worried. They don't know what the future holds. They're stressed because they have to sit at home and they can't like go out and be in the sun, for example. They already are depressed. So don't forget that people that already have mental illnesses, they probably are much more vulnerable to having this ineffective stress versus people, you know.
Yep, I was going to ask you about the telehealth apps. We have a question. For example, applications like the Sahati application, which you just recently joined. Let's talk about that a little bit. How important is the effect of these telehealth apps in minimizing stress levels of patients, keeping them connected to doctors? You spoke about it. Let's just add a little bit to it. لأنه I highly recommend anyone that's facing any kind of problem. It might be big, it might be small. No one knows, no matter what size it is. You need to talk to a specialist, a professional. So, and now this is trending. I highly recommend it. So what about you?
No, I mean, obviously I believe in it. That's why ever since, like, you know, the pandemic, I started, all my clients moved teletherapy. And then I realized really how helpful it is, because, you know, when they come to the office, maybe they have a stress and anxiety about, even though some of people are still, you know, missing you face to face, but the idea of like, you know, it's a small space. Am I gonna, you know, get sick? Are there people waiting in the you know, waiting area? Are they also sick? It's just constant fear. I mean, you're already anxious and you come and you learn about the environment. So for me, teletherapy is going to be the new thing. Let me tell you, because I feel like people, it's convenient. You can talk to your therapist anywhere, anytime. Even when you go back to work, you could do it when you're at lunchtime. When you could do it, you can talk to your therapist when you are, for example, in the car. You don't really have to be able to go to the office.
Wait for an appointment, yes.
And for us, to be honest, in this culture, it's much more effective, because people always worry about the stigma of seeing a psychologist, who's going to see me when I'm waiting. So this is eliminating that variable of saying, you know, you don't have to worry about anyone, it's just you and I, and it's confidential. But, you know, Sahati, one of the things that they do is they connect you with other doctors. So the first thing you do is, when you're calling, you're speaking really actually to a general practitioner who is going to evaluate what you're saying and with your symptoms. If they think that you need a psychologist, then they've got a list of people, and then they book you. Because this is, you know, this comprehensive kind of medical, it's like a polyclinic in a way, but it's in a teletherapy mode. Why? Because when you get someone that goes to their GP right now, and I've had people where they have panic attack and they'll go to their doctor or the emergency room, and let's say the doctor is either embarrassed to tell them you have panic attack, or maybe he doesn't know and understand. What happens is that doctor sends them home and says there's nothing wrong with you, but he hasn't told them that you have panic attack. He hasn't said really you need to see a psychologist. And even if he did or she did, they don't follow up. this is a really good way to get the person to connect right away to the professional that they need without having them to wait, because right away you can make the appointment, you see the person, you pay online. It's very, very an effective way of treating. And this is the virtual, we're going virtual, and I think people are going to become much more
scary
it's
in
like
a way,
ordering your
but it's
food is
good.
going to be the same thing.
True. True.
I definitely
We have a couple of
agree
comments.
with it.
Yes, Dr. Juliet, we have a couple of comments. Let me read a couple so you can تعلقي عليهم. Wishes says we should keep in mind that this will end one day. Definitely it will end one day, and we need to, if we need to make that process fast, we need to be social responsible, and I personally know that you are. Amula says, so true. I went through sometimes that I couldn't talk to anyone knowing they are going through the same or even more, and that stressed me even. Oh, okay. Am I back?
You're cutting off. I didn't hear you. Okay, now tell me you had a comment saying that this is all going to end soon. No, you're not back yet. Okay.
Oh, I'm not back? Tell me. Okay.
You're back? Yeah. I didn't hear the question.
We're back.
You had a comment, what?
Okay. No. A comment written by Wishes. She said, we should keep in mind that this will end one day. So I said, yes, of course it will end one day, but we need to increase the process of that by being social responsible in many different ways. Number one. And then we have Amulak. She said, so true. I went through sometimes that I couldn't talk to anyone knowing they're going through the same or even more, and that stressed me even more. That was when we were talking about being stressed. And we have Nada Saab. Hi. It's a critical period. We have responsibilities towards our family and friends during this pandemic. And then we have Aida, Diary 3. She says, so true sometimes that I feel stressed, but I can't talk to anyone because I don't want to be a drag. So Nada also says we should organize ourselves. We'll adapt to the new style. Adapting to new style and making routine is very good for our mental health. Yes.
Right, but see, a lot of people don't really understand how important routine is, diet, exercise, you have to sleep at a certain time, wake up. And so, and the idea is that, especially if you're living in a household where everyone is stressed and people are sleeping in and they don't have routine, everyone's in their pajamas watching TV. And so when you have a teletherapist, what I am doing is they're able to talk to me about stress because that's my job. Second of all, they don't have to feel guilty that they're bombarding their family members with this, that they're stressed when they know they are. So you don't have to feel guilty. And with me, for example, that I can process, well, what is your routine like? I hold you accountable. When I talk to you and I say, okay, for the next time, I want to see that you've walked half an hour every day, whatever it is, treadmill, you go up and stairs. I don't even demand big machines like other people. You just walk around the house, take the stairs, go outside in the lobby, whatever it is.
That's for adults and kids as well.
Of course. And food is very important. I think people are not understanding that the more carbs and sugar we have, the more we'll be depressed. It's very well known. And it's a known fact. And people are not, understanding that. But with a therapist, we go through this. We hold you responsible. We say, okay, I especially, me, I'm very in your face kind of therapist. So it's like, okay, so this is what you need to do. This is what I want to see next time. And journaling is so important. Writing down your thoughts, your fears. Just download them on a piece of paper. You don't have to do anything. Just download them on a piece of paper. Then when they meet, when they call me and we talk about it, I say, okay, let's see your stress. Yes.
Okay. And about the eating part, lots and lots of people, now everyone has been stressing about, the lockdown, and when they want to go to co-ops, they have to take an appointment and they're scared because they have kids or everything. the most important part is eating, and of course carbohydrates. It's like, who does not love carbohydrates? And the thing is that everyone now is a chef, which is amazing, by the way. Those are the benefits of quarantine. The people that ما بحياتهم بيتين على المطبخ هلا صاروا شفية وعن جد they're really good. بس يعني you say, okay, you cook and you want to eat. بتقولي لا, I should eat healthy, or I'm on keto, or I'm on any kind of diet. بس بعدين بتفكري انه ليه انا امتى بدي اطلع من البيت؟ ليه انا شو في عندي بعدين؟ خلص بناكل اليوم، وحتى لو بننصح نرجع we will lose weight بعد ما نطلع. بيجي the day that you want to go to the supermarket, you put on your jeans, ما بيسكر your jeans, وهونيك poof, explosion. Experience, personal experience. So these are things that are happening. But by the way, speaking of healthy lifestyle, healthy eating, we can actually do it. Hopefully I will have a health coach and a nutritionist as guests, so we can talk about feeling guilty but not feeling guilty at the same time. بس عن جد وقت واحد ياكل chocolate, وقت واحد ياكل هيك شقفة خبزة so fluffy, it feels good, man. It feels good. Right?
Yeah, it's true. It feels good.
Try later.
Look. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't tell you. But I know one thing from my own experience is that everything in moderation. Like when I used to tell myself I'm doing a diet, that's when I gained the most weight. I don't diet, but what I do is I do in moderation. What I do is that if I know I'm feeling like I need to have extra chocolate today, well, I better remember tomorrow that I need to cut down on whatever it is that I'm not going to have. Now, of course, these this is why we are addicted to sugar and carbs, because they make you feel good. Actually, the dopamine that it expresses, it's the same thing as if you're on drugs. So it feels good. This is the reason why people on drugs can't quit. It's because it gives you this euphoric feeling that you are amazing and you are wonderful and you're happy.
Being addicted to chocolate and better.
But it's the same feeling. And this is why the people that we, and we have to let people understand that it's the same thing as if someone that's doing drugs and we say this is bad for you because there's a memory in your brain that's not going to let you quit. It's the same thing with carbs and sugar. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, but I know something is that I know that people that have mental illnesses and even people that don't, when you are eating that type of food, your anxiety increases, your stress increases, which is a trigger for your depression. And so you want to choose. I mean, people have the right. I mean, even my clients, I say, look, I'm not here to tell you what to do. But I know one thing is that if you're going to go through this path, you have to also be responsible for the reaction you will have later. And if you don't like the reaction, then don't do it. Yeah. So it's a balance act. But you're not supposed to starve yourself and not have the chocolate. Believe me, I want to have the chocolate. I'm going to have it. But I also want to tell myself that I don't want to get to that stage where I've gained so much weight, I'm out of control, and now I'm feeling bad about myself, because it's a cycle at the end. So you got to make a priority. What is my priority here? Is it my mental health or is it my eating? So everyone is a chef. My students have been presenting lately, and some of them have joined us. And I tell you, and one of the things is that what did you learn about yourself with COVID? And most everyone have learned to cook. Everyone is cooking.
Which is good.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Of course. But you can cook in a good way. I mean, you don't have to cook all the fatness stuff. You can always make you can make a balance between what you're cooking and how you can cook it, what you're eating, how you're going to eat it. So I think people need self-discipline. If you don't have self-discipline, then you're not going to get better, to be honest.
True. I have some comments. Aya Kabara says, talking to an outsider is so much more comfortable than family or friends. Why is that? Mazwood, sometimes you might have a psychologist in your family, but you want to go to someone else because, they're family. So this is number one. Let's answer Aya's question.
The thing is that because there's confidentiality. First of all, I'm out of the family anyways. Even if you had a family member who's a psychologist, they're not objective. So they're going to take side internally, even if they say, no, I will not take side. Unconsciously, we have a commitment, a priority somehow, somewhere that came from like, you know, revolution, is that we have a commitment to family regardless if we want to separate ourselves. This is why it's unethical to treat family members or friends, for me. So I mean, it's unethical for all doctors actually. So the idea is that it's better to speak to someone. I'm out of the family, I have confidentiality, I don't take sides, and you don't have to feel guilty because you're bombarding me with your stress. That's my job.
True.
Right? But
yes.
so you don't have to, like, that's why speaking to someone outside, you're minimizing a lot of variables. Definitely the taking sides and the confidentiality is not there with family members.
Exactly. They will go emotionally because they are related. So it's fine talking to someone, an outsider. Ida says, eating healthy food really helped me during the pandemic. Yes, true. You feel good when you eat your greens, when you eat your vegetables. It is a good feeling. We're not talking, يعني ما عم بحكي عن إنه واحد يأكل healthy food and then about gaining weight. When you eat vegetables, when you eat healthy, it feels good. You feel good, light and fresh and more energetic. So it's all about what you eat as well. We have Amani also. We can consider this time a chance to improve ourselves and our interests. True. I cut off the sugar for 1 month and I feel very good. Exactly, Aida. That's it. A great point on journaling. We should all start. Aya says that. And then Wadad said yes. We have, Aida said, I don't like journaling. It really scared me. If we can know why, we would love to talk about that. And Dania Abdelhadi said balance. Dr. Juliet, because guess what time is it? It's almost going to be 9.
Wow, okay.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, how tough is tough? How extreme is extreme? Yeah, how tough is tough? How extreme is extreme? And how far can we stretch our abilities in these extreme times? That's question number 1. That's question number 2, actually. So what do you have to say about that?
How tough is tough?
And how extreme is extreme? Yep.
Look, I think, you know, how tough is tough. I think tough can be as tough as you need it to be. Right? I think that how extreme also, the idea is that we have to also not be too extreme for ourselves, because that can create a lot of bad habits. You know, being this perfectionist, having this guilt and anxiety. If I don't do this, I don't do this. You know, we have to be able to find a medium. Everything is not black and white. And to be able to monitor and manage yourself. So I don't recommend that every day I have to like be strict on diet and I have to be strict on my exercise. And if I don't feel like it this week, I don't feel like it. I think everyone knows what their capability is. But one thing I want to tell you is that most of the time people confuse their capability to genetics, and it's not genetics. Yes, there are some things that are inherited from our family and our parents. For example, talent, art, whatever. But it does not take away that we can also create these things and we can learn how to be talented. So when people start acting like, well, I'm not self-disciplined, I've never learned to be self-disciplined, I am not this type of person, I never liked routine. I think people are making excuses because they're scared of the new. And we're always scared of trying something new because we don't really know what the result is. So how tough can you be with yourself, or how tough you can be? No one knows that but you. But I would challenge yourself. I mean, there's some sort of a thing about endurance, right? I mean, that's why we have athletes that can endure so much, and they can venture out of their comfort zone. And I think we could do that if we put our mind to it. So it's the idea of self-discipline and a commitment I have for myself. So if people are not disciplined, they don't have commitment, they're not going to achieve what they need to achieve to, you know. So if your goal is, I want to have a better mental health, then that's a goal. What steps can you do to take that? Well, you need a therapist, you need routine, you need better diet, better exercise, better health, you know, it's steps. Now, if these steps are overwhelming some people, then it's going to overwhelm you, but then you can't reach your goal. Everything is about the achievement of what you want, not what I want.
Okay. All right. Dr. Juliet, to continue the comments, Aya says, very true. Watch what you eat and how much you eat. It's all about balance. And then Nada says, my daughter never cooked. See, those are the positive things of quarantine.
Yeah.
My daughter cooked during quarantine time. She has become a chef, making the best cookies and sweets ever. I'm surprised and happy for her. We are all happy. And then we have
That's
someone
right.
said, أحس إني بكلاس. I think so. Oh, and someone says, Nana says Tamara makes the yummiest sweets ever. Oh, thank you. She tasted it. Yeah, I just like to
Yes,
cook.
you do, actually.
Yeah, that's the
You
way
love
I
to
like.
cook.
I have two things so I can relieve if I'm stressed. Cooking and singing. You see a lot of cooking and
Do you?
singing on my
Yeah.
Instagram.
No, but that's so healthy and that's great.
Yes, yes, of course. How to deal with feeling down because of some because of some oh my God. Oh, yalla. Because of some racism during this pandemic. That's number one. Number two, how dangerous is it to self-diagnose instead of getting getting a professional yeah Allah. Okay, of getting the right help in the right way need. Hey, how the two things. And then I have one last question, Dr. Julia. Do you want to answer those? ولا بسألك
Yeah, let
هيدا
me answer
السؤال
because my memory is
Okay.
like a fish. First of all, the first one I forgot what it was, but the second one, it's very dangerous to diagnose yourself because you're not a professional. You don't know what the symptoms, because we go according to certain criteria, certain symptoms, the duration,
True.
So I mean, when you have whatever you have medical, if you have a medical illness, you go to the doctor to diagnose you. You don't say to yourself, well, I have diabetes, let me just go take an insulin. So it's the same matter. Nobody diagnoses themselves medically, regardless if we're talking about mental health or, and a lot of people say, well, no, but my father has the same symptoms as me, so I'm going to start taking his medication. No.
لا ما فيها
Age,
لا.
duration, time. You can't do that. And you can't call and say, well, I already know I have anxiety. You got to check it with a professional. The first one, I can't remember tomorrow. What was the question?
I will tell you how to deal with feeling down because of some racism during this pandemic, which
Feeling
brings
down
us
because of
to,
racism?
yes, this pandemic.
Okay.
And then, okay, answer that because I have another question. You want me to answer that question first?
Well,
على الracism.
Well, I mean, على racism, we are feeling down because of racism. Believe me, I think it's an unfair thing. I think racism continues to happen, even if we don't want to. I mean, you could see what's happening in the US, right?
Very sad.
It's
Very
unfair.
sad, yeah.
And especially, even here, there have been racism where it's not even racism, is that when we identify certain groups that have higher number, that's just statistics. But I think when we put it out there, I think it's put out there just to give people knowledge. And unfortunately, there are people who are going to use their, this criteria to be able to feel more superior. And it's sad to me that someone needs to put someone else down so they could feel better about themselves. So racism is all about projection, my own insecurities on people I could control. And your third one was?
Okay, the last question. Is it okay to rob brand stores? Haida, I think this question is because of what's happening in the US, unfortunately. Is it okay to rob brand name stores? How brandaholic people are? What does this do to the cause? We know that this is frustration, but what level of frustration is this? Because, when they're doing these things in the streets and they go, they robbed LV, they robbed Dior, they robbed brand names. Why? Is it okay in times like this? And the frustration about it.
Of course it's not. I mean, of course it's not. And I don't know if it's symbolism of these brand stores are more operated by rich people who happen to be white in the US. So I don't know if it's the idea is why are they targeting brand stores? Is maybe because they know that these are the stores that are oftentimes, their customers might be wealthier. So it's the wealthy against the poor. But to be honest, no, it's not okay, because I think it dismisses what they're trying. The cause is to make a statement for the unfairness, make a statement for, people that have been repressed, how African Americans have been repressed for years, and the division, the divided people have even been increasing for the last 4 years.
It's unacceptable.
And it's not acceptable. But, I think when you do these things, that is, you know, some people can really miss the point. Because here, if you're
Of
going to
course.
stand for a cause, you stand it in a protest that's peaceful. So that way people know that you're serious and they can take you serious. But as soon as,
True.
you know, a violence starts to exist because you're frustrated, then I think these protesters are going to they're going to miss the message they're giving to the lawmakers or people that are
It's
going to change.
definitely missed, yeah, of course, because there's no point of going and robbing a store if you are focusing on something else. So this is not good for the cause itself, because people leave the cause and talk about what's happening. So this is not where we wanted it to be. So
No,
yeah,
I mean, I think that they're
proud.
using these things to vent their, I mean, it's not all protesters, because there have been protesters that are very peaceful
No, no,
and
no.
have, so, I mean, so I think some of these individuals are frustrated. They don't know what to do. And it's a good opportunity to get something that's name brand. But, you know, it's not, to me, I don't feel like it's really solving the problem at all. It's not
True,
what you are
true.
intended to do.
True. Dr. Juliet Dinkha, thank you so much. Our 30-minute interview
You're
is almost
welcome.
an hour. Thank you for answering all of the questions and telling us about social responsibility. ما بعرف ليه صار الانترفيو كله بالانجلش، يمكن رجعنا لزمن الراديو.
اكيد
كان في
لانه
ناس عم بتقول
حسيت في
بنحكي
ناس
بالعربي.
عم
ايه
تحكي بالعربي. Exactly. بس
مظبوط.
if you know me, I don't like Arabic interviews.
ايه
لازم اغير هذا الشيء فيني يعني.
عم نحكي باللغتين، لازم نحكي باللغتين. ف thank you very much. Oh, it was
You're welcome. Thanks.
very nice having you for my first live with Tamara. Very interesting subject, and hopefully we're going to be tackling different things, different topics and subjects later on. Uh, take care and be social responsible more. I know you are.
More.
More.
I'll drive
More
through,
social
but I won't
responsible.
talk to anyone.
Anyone, exactly, just like the automated message. All right, Dr. Juliet, thank
That's
you very
true.
much and have a good
Thanks,
day. Yeah,
Samara. Good luck
thank
with your
you.
interviews.
Good night.
Bye.
Yes,
Thanks.
thanks so
Bye bye.
much. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, يا حلوين. Thank you very much لكل يلي بعتوا لي الكومنتس وكل اللي شاركونا. I hope you liked it. Hopefully, after tomorrow, we're gonna have an interview. I'm gonna leave it as a surprise. So tomorrow رح نزل post على الستوريز وعلى my feed على مين الجست وإذا حدا عنده أي سؤال. Have a good night. Thank you for watching.